My name is Joshua Gibson, and you are listening to the Philosophical Weightlifting Podcast, a show dedicated to promoting a message of critical thinking as it pertains to strength training, nutrition, and well-being. This is done through interviews with experts, high-level athletes, coaches, and people heavily involved in strength sports and athletic development. Pull up a chair, grab a coffee, and let's get on to today's podcast.
Hello and welcome back to this week's episode of the Weightlifting House News Show, the only weightlifting news show in the world. What? Huh?
That's the wrong podcast, brother.
What do you mean? This is Weightlifting House News Show. I'm on. I'm talking to the people. I'm delivering the news. What's going on here?
This is the Philosophical Weightlifting Podcast, and we have joined you this week with a very special episode. It's actually. I didn't really plan this until recently. I think actually yesterday. But I thought, what better time to bring the British beauty that we all know as Seb onto this podcast so we can discuss American Open Finals and USA Weightlifting Nationals, which, and I guess what we could do initially even is set the scene. Like everyone knows what's going on, but I think just to kind of put it all out in the open and one place where they can kind of digest all of the changes, because it seemed like it was kind of a process. People saw the numbers kind of going up with respect to, people infected per number of people. And they thought, okay, maybe it might take place, maybe it might not. So Nationals, American Open Finals, Youth Nationals, it was all up in the air. And then suddenly it wasn't. It all got moved to
landed down on the ground.
Exactly. So Seb, maybe you can set the scene. What exactly transpired to bring us to a point where we're watching all of these athletes in their own gyms with their teams, with taped off platforms, competing for, the top spot in the US?
Well, it all started off in November of 2019 in a wet market. Wait, how far back do you want me to go?
As far back as you deem necessary.
Okay. All right. We'll take it back to when I first met Josh. No, let's not do that. I don't have an enormous amount of outside information. I mean, it is as you said, the rate was rising. The R value, I don't know if you guys use the R value. The R value was above 1. Mm-hmm. And so they just kind of deemed that they had this metric in at hand, and they basically said if it's 1 in this many people in the city are infected, then we're just going to cancel it. And it was getting closer and closer, and a lot of athletes and coaches had actually said and sort of registered their concern and said USAW needs to cancel this before people spend money, booking stuff out, all of that sort of stuff. And so eventually USAW did. Some people congratulated them, said they did the right job. Others said that they did the right job, but they did it too late. And then there was a whole fiasco of USAW saying, these are the types of plates you need, these are the types of bars, and more people getting frustrated, which, I can totally understand. But at the same time, you can't use 55-pound plates in a weightlifting competition. Mm-hmm. It just doesn't work. You've got to have a 20-kilo bar. You can't just have black plates. There's got to be some level of ability for the judges who are on the other side of the country to see what you're lifting and know what you're lifting through the screen. So that upset a few people, but ultimately it was an enormous competition, and as far as I can tell, it all went to plan. And so it was a pretty good comp.
And I think as far as people deciding how they felt about it, it was kind of a choose your own adventure type deal, where if you're an athlete, you can decide you feel one way, and you're probably rightfully able to say that and to choose that opinion. And if you're a judge, or you work for USA Weightlifting, or you're a coach, or you're someone who differs in their opinion, I mean, you're also rightfully able to say that. And there's a lot of evidence either way. I mean, without a vaccine or some way to slow the spread drastically, I just don't know if there was ever the possibility of having this operate normally. I mean, even sporting events now, major sporting events like American football and American basketball, like they were heavily impacted and still are, to where stadiums are empty. And then, USA Weightlifting would want to have thousands of people in the same spot, and trying to, and they said, they would have shut down the training halls, so they would have had to have traveled to other gyms. I think from the outset, it just didn't seem
Mm-hmm.
incredibly feasible with the current situation of being in what is considered a worsening pandemic. Luckily now the whole progression with the vaccine is
Mm-hmm.
kind of taken off, and we're in a position where maybe within the next month things are very managed. But
Shout
did
out to
you ever,
Pfizer. Yeah.
shout out to Pfizer, get your money in and
Right.
put it in their stock? It's probably not a bad move, but did you ever think there was really a possibility that this would have gone off without some sort of controversy?
No.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to, because even if the meet goes ahead, then there's going to be, okay, when you're in the back room, how many coaches can you have to your platform? How far apart are you going to have to spread out athletes? There's not going to be a training hall for athletes to train in the 3 days build up. So people are going to have to fly out like the day before, having gotten the workout in that morning in their own state. And then, of course, God forbid someone gets ill and actually dies from it, then the legal side of things, I can only imagine, are going to be a nightmare for USA weightlifting.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I personally, just outside of weightlifting, just looking at at what Pfizer is doing, I'm actually just shocked at how much better I think things are going to be in 6 months' time than I thought. Like when people were saying, "Oh, by April we'll all be out," I was thinking, "This is ridiculous. We're not." Like you just need to look at the graphs to see that. I was thinking that this time next year it's still going to be not great, and now suddenly all of these vaccines are appearing. I know that in the UK, because I think we're the first country with them, there have been a couple of reported allergic reactions today, but I think it's just like 2, and there are 800,000 initially going out this week. So like it's not terrible yet, and there are always going to be adverse effects. But yeah, I'm just kind of impressed that if someone last month had said to me there's going to be a vaccine going out in December, I would not have believed them. So I'm pretty just pumped about that, to be honest.
Well, and the crazy thing is different countries are being affected differently, to the extent that the UK was in a lockdown and that was kind of backed off or let off, and
we're back in one now. I'm still in.
Oh, you're back in one.
Yeah,
Oh, really?
I've been in this for over a month. Yeah.
Okay, but the gyms have reopened?
Yeah, so the only thing that changed for December for me, for the big cities basically all remained, or a lot of them remained on like the highest tier of lockdown, which is what I'm in. The only thing that changed was that they decided to open gyms, which is really nice. So I'm going to the gym, basically every day, but everything else is shut.
Now, why was that situation, or why was that decision made to where they closed gyms and then a month later, with nothing changing, they opened gyms? Were there any changes in numbers or cases reported, or any information that like led on to see that, well, it's really not this big of a difference if we open gyms up? I mean, I just don't.
Yeah, I think part of what it is if there's a virus that goes around and it's you're told very early on, before you've had a whole lot of time to do any planning for this kind of thing, if you're just told, this transmits from person to person, you're just going to naturally think, okay, let's shut down the gyms, and that's the right thing to do. And I'm not even convinced that they've done the right thing by opening them, honestly. But I guess there was so much public concern and so many, not protests, but people signing petitions and hitting the 100,000 signs mark. Which, if you're in the UK, if you hit 100,000, then it goes to Parliament. So just constantly, and I think maybe it just seemed like, you know what, it's generally younger people who are going. They're the ones who aren't suffering too much from this anyway, and so they just decided it's easier to open. So yeah, it's nice. It is really nice to have the gyms open. To be fair, it's very good.
Okay. Interesting. And the kind of a point I was making before I brought that up is that in the UK, gyms are opening. In places like Denmark, I think they're closing.
Yeah.
So it's kind of,
they're going into lockdown again. I think most people who go into lockdown are keeping the gyms closed, and we went into our second lockdown sort of halfway towards the end of October, and they closed the gyms again. It's only since early December that they decided to reopen. But yeah, I think most countries, when they go into that second lockdown, which I think most countries have either gone into or are heading into, I think the gyms will close again.
Yeah, and this kind of all comes back or circles back to this kind of feeling that this is just a really weird situation to be in, a very strange, time point in all of our lives. That's where it almost doesn't seem real. It's just like you walk around, suddenly people are like, able to transmit this virus. They're all in face masks. It's very strange. But all of that being said, everything we pretty much talked about has dictated how USA weightlifting has changed nationals, American Open finals, youth nationals, 3 major weightlifting events. And, over the weekend, last week, all of that kind of came to pass. We were able to see the results, what people struggled with, what they didn't struggle with. I think, to me, the major difference would be not competing on and Alex LaChance, we actually just recorded a podcast with her. She mentioned that she kind of thrives off of the nerves. She gets almost like a competition boost, which I would say I feel the same way.
Yeah, I totally felt that.
With that missing, I think maybe you don't get that little extra bit. But then you have, on the flip side, you have your entire team, you have your coaches, you're on your home field. Everyone's literally got a home field advantage. For the most part, they have a place to lift. Everyone's helping them come together to make this happen. So, the pros and cons seem to somewhat outweigh each other. Now, if we actually dive into what did happen, what transpired, how do you feel about, nationals and finals, the lifts that were made, the performances that we saw? Maybe we can start with what really stuck out, and then we can go weight class to weight class.
Yeah, I feel like the story of this nationals was, and maybe no one else saw it this way, but what I saw was the people who are currently in the top 8 in the world for their weight class, i.e. they're in Olympic spots, had to prove to the rest of the country that they were the right people to be there. And basically what you saw was that everyone who's in an Olympic slot outperformed everyone else, except for a couple of situations. Maybe just one main situation, which we'll certainly talk about, and I'm happy to wait because obviously you know who it is I'm talking about. But basically, I think they did what they were supposed to. I think the top guys underperformed. In fact, I don't think anyone that's in an Olympic spot did anything that was particularly impressive for them. I think the person who got the closest was probably someone like Jordan Dela Cruz, who lifted within a couple of kilos of her American records. And then maybe you could say Kate Nye's snatch at 111. Outside of that, CJ didn't do anything that was remarkable for CJ, except pull on a 200 kilo clean. Harrison didn't do anything that he hasn't done 100 times. Wes hasn't done anything that he hasn't done 100 times. And, Matty did really well, but, she's up a weight class and she did well. I don't want to take anything away from her, but, there was nothing that was absolutely crazy from that Olympic squad.
Yeah, and honestly, the 2 people who stick out to me is kind of the people who had breakthrough performances, and they almost solidified their spot as the next contenders heading into the next squad would be Nathan Damron, who absolutely murdered it. Yeah, Nathan just absolutely murdered his performance, and
he did fantastically.
And to be fair, his training had almost predicted what would happen.
I'm almost surprised he didn't do more in the snatch. And I think if he hadn't missed his opener, I think it was at 55. I think
56.
he'd have 56. Yeah, I think he might have taken a good shot at 65 or something like that.
Yeah, and his 61 look, I mean, it just
fantastic.
Easy. And then his 205, holy cow! Wow.
I've watched it a few times, and I've tried to actually purposefully act as though I'm a different person in each scenario. So I've watched it from my perspective, knowing how he lifts, and thought to myself, okay, after that clean and how easy the clean was, how easy should the jerk be? And it looks as you'd almost expect. The clean was easy, the jerk looked always a little bit harder for Nathan, but doable. And then I thought, okay, imagine I'm a 96 from another country who doesn't know who he is. Or another perspective I put myself in was, imagine I'm the coach of a 96 from Russia, and I see this lift. What do I think that Nathan can do? And the answer is not 205 as a max. Like the answer is always, okay, maybe 215, 220. Like you just, he makes these things look so easy. But he said on the podcast with us last week, he said, even when he back squatted 700 pounds, it was pretty quick.
Yeah. And if you haven't listened to the podcast we did with Nathan and Damron, head over to Weightlifting House on iTunes or any other podcasting platform. Give it a listen, get to know more about the champ and who I think will really just live atop that podium for the next, 4 years and hopefully make an Olympic team. Really
I think he's going to blossom. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he jerked 212 in training and he's taking cracks at 206. He's like living around his all-time PRs, which is awesome. So the second person, and I think we'd both agree on this, is
for sure.
Meredith. I mean,
unbelievable.
Come on. Yeah, come on. And in that pole, especially the angle, she posted her videos from the side angle, and you just see that bar track in so aggressively off the floor. She's working on straightening everything out at the top. Man, she just looked really sharp.
Now, did you notice that yourself, or did you listen to me say that a couple of weeks ago on the news show?
No, I noticed that myself. And I've been, to be fair, I've been reading Snatch, Clean and Jerk, the technique book by Roman. I literally read that before bed every night. So I'm really clued into the bar sweeping it off the floor.
It's funny because since she moved to Danny Camargo, she has been looking great. She snatched 106 for PR, and I've been sort of mentioning her on the news show. And I said one of the main things that I can see is off the floor, getting the bar back. She's better. She's almost better than anyone.
Yeah,
in the USA. And it's interesting that you notice the same thing. I think there is a slight difference there in what she's been able to do. So that's kind of cool.
And you can even tell she's trying not to, and people talk about laying back in the snatch and using your hips and all this stuff. But I mean, I feel like they're making a concerted effort to kind of straighten everything out and get more of a vertical push at the top. And I mean, she's so damn strong. She's been hitting squat PRs too. So again, it's kind of like with Nathan, you just see the stars start to align and you realize that this isn't just a one-off thing. Meredith's not going to hit this big total PRs and then fall off. She's going to, I mean, I see 110, 140, 112, 143, something like that.
Definitely see 40 coming. Yeah.
So what do you think this means in the grand scheme of things for the people we think really excelled? For Meredith, where do you think this is going to take her? I mean, she's 22, making great progress again. Like, what do you think lies ahead for these two athletes?
I mean, for both of them, I'm just thinking 2024. Because obviously neither of them are in positions where they can compete at the Olympics. They haven't competed enough, and they've been outperformed over the course of the 4 years. Well, sorry, the 2 years really. But I feel like with Meredith, the people who are in and around her weight categories, there's obviously Matty Sasser, who's a weight class below, and then there's although I think where did Matty compete at this? No, she did. She competed as a 64, I presume. But we've got Maddie, then we've got Kate Nye, and of course we've got Maddie Rogers, who doesn't want to be an 87. So let's assume, for all intents and purposes, she's actually not going to be that after the Olympics. She'll come back down. So there are these four women in these sort of 2 to 3 weight categories, and I think a while ago there was this conversation of who's it going to be, and Meredith was at points like right at the top of that. And then she just suddenly fell off after 2018 Worlds, and I think maybe she got injured. I'm not exactly sure what happened. But this performance, I mean, we haven't gone through the numbers of everyone, and I don't know if we're going to go through them all, but for people who don't know, at 71, she out-totaled both Kate Nye and Matty Rogers, who were in the weight class above in the 76s. Yeah. So Kate did, I think it was 111, 131. Matty did 107, 136 to beat Kate by a kilo. And then, 5 kilos less body weight, and Meredith beat them all. She snatched 106, which was less than both of them. And then she just pulled out this enormous 138 and hit a 244 total. And as far as I remember, that gave her the highest Sinclair from all of the women. I think it came down to the 10th or the 100th of a Sinclair point to beat Jordan Dela Cruz. Wow. So in terms of what your body can do as a weight with weight, she beat every woman. And then I think she had more Roby points than anyone who competed, including CJ Harrison, all those guys. So she was actually the best weightlifter of that competition.
Wow. I mean, that really does put it into perspective. And the question that lingers when you talk about the performance of the weight classes, knowing what's going to happen in 2024, like I think that just shakes things up to a point of I don't know if it is predictable to say who's going to end on a team, because that really dictates the body weight. You'd have to get something that falls like relatively close. I mean, 76. I don't know if Meredith could drop down to like a 64 or something close to that. She could definitely move up, but I think cutting a significant amount of body weight would be a challenge. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of luck of the draw. It's almost the same situation that happened with Ginny Arthur, and people kind of fell in the middle and didn't really have a place to go.
I mean, that's something that we haven't spoken about is, and I don't know how aware of it you are. Maybe you mean you just sort of mentioned it there, but you know about the fact that the IOC has decided to cut the number of weight classes down to 5 for Paris. 5 for the men, 5 for the women. So then when you look at it like that, I've actually got a list in front of me because I spoke about this on the news show, which will go up in a couple of days. So this will probably actually go up before. And I wrote a list of all of the weight classes for the men and for the women, then what it looks like when you remove the ones that they've already removed for the Olympics, because they've already cut it from 10 to 7. And then if they were then to cut it from 7 to 5, which ones will they cut? And I can see it being something like, for the women, it could be, it was 49, 59, 71, 81, 87 plus. So you're sort of taking these roughly 10 kilo jumps with a 12 kilo jump in the middle. Other than that, the only other thing I could see would be 55, 64, 76, 87 super. But I almost wonder if that's skewed too heavy, especially because, you know, it was only, 4 years ago that the women's heaviest class was 76. So it might be silly now to have a 76 and an 87 and a super. So I think they could kind of get rid of one of those. But it will be interesting because that could easily lump in. If you make the jump from 59 to 71, and then after that is 81, that lumps a lot of those lifters in where they have to decide, are we all going to compete together or are you going to separate? And it's going to force head-to-heads that we hadn't expected to see before. Like from the men's side on a world scene, you could literally see like Lee Dayan versus Mezzo Hasona. You know what I mean? Because if it's an 85 to 95 kilo jump, or probably more from the men's side, they're going to see 15 kilo jumps. We might see that battle. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It's going to be a lot of fun for us. I think for the athletes, it's going to be incredibly stressful. And it's just going to be, you know, it's going to be very uncomfortable having to not only make the decision, but to see it through. So if you say, hey, the 96 class is gone, I was a 96, and now a class is like 103 or 102 or something. It's like, you got to put that weight on somehow. I mean, I don't think at any point you would argue that more weight is bad weight. Maybe it's not effective weight. Maybe you get a kilo out of it, 2 kilos out of it, but that's 2 kilos you wouldn't have in a weight class that you have to be in regardless. Yeah,
absolutely. It's going to be an interesting one to see where people go. But like you said, I feel like for me, it's exciting because new things can happen. And for you and for the spectators, new competitions between people that we never thought we'd see. But for the actual athletes, it's pretty hellish, I can imagine.
Yeah. And I know we won't really touch on any of the international lifts. We keep this to nationals and finals, but Mezzo Hasona is 230. I mean, that's just, that was bananas. That was just bonkers.
Yeah. He messaged me and said that he's competing again in December and he's going to do 232 for the world record. Unofficial, obviously. He said he wanted to do 235, but his dad, his coach, wants him to save that for Asian champs. So Asian champs is going to be amazing because we're going to see Mezzo versus Tian Tao.
No,
and versus Sarab.
Yeah. Oh.
And Rostami probably. And we're not going to see that. Like, there's no way we're going to see all of those 4 at the Olympics. We might only see 2 of them. We might only see 1. You know what I mean? So, like, it'll be interesting.
Now, with Asian champs, when is that? And do you think we'll have made enough headway into getting rid of the coronavirus or the threat of the coronavirus so that we can, you know, compete in person? Because obviously if the Asian champs are online, that changes things even more dramatically, I would feel.
Yeah. So it's in April this year. I had a feeling that it was in March, but they must have literally just moved it within the last week because they're normally always in April. Then Asian champs got moved to March, but it's back in April now. What's the problem is that the Asian champs and the Pan American champs are at the same time, 15th to the 25th. So that's a little bit annoying because obviously I won't be able to go to both. And then Europeans are just before that. And then Oceania is also April. And then the African champs are March, I think. Yeah. So basically April is when it's all, well, from sort of late March is when it's all kicking off again for another month. It's going to be tremendous.
And do you think all these meets will be impacted to the extent of doing them virtually?
No, I think they'll all go ahead in person.
Even if there's no, like, not enough of an impact, do you think it's just kind of they have to figure it out regardless to make these events work?
What do you mean not enough of an impact?
Like with the introduction of the vaccine, I mean, because you assume that rates would have to go down because they've been doing events virtually. There have been a few international competitions that have run online,
but they haven't counted. Like there've been a few international competitions, but you can't set world records or anything at them.
Right.
And I feel like if this is something that is used to determine the final selection for the Olympic Games, it sort of either happens in person and it counts for the Olympics, or it happens online and it doesn't count for the Olympics. I don't think they can have it online and have it count. I just think that would be too... Right. I don't know.
Too questionable.
Yeah, you can't test people, and I mean, I can't imagine people have been tested anyway for the last 6 months, to be honest.
Right, you can't test people. I mean, it just you almost assume that you have to battle test people, and that they need to travel, they need to make, they need to go through what it would be to get to the Olympics to, show that they can compete in the Olympics. So if everyone's just competing on their home court the entire year, I think that's going to be a rude awakening for the performances at the Olympics. And what would be an interesting thought experiment, and I don't think this is the case, but if somehow the Olympics weren't, able to go ahead in person, just having like a virtual Olympic meet would be absolutely bonkers.
For the actual Olympics?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That'd just be bonkers. But to kind of circle back to the actual topic of this podcast, let's run through. So I have the results pulled up so we can discuss them. And maybe we just start with the categories, run through the ones that are a little, less eventful and just cover them. But the 45.
Can I give a shout out to the top three of the youth men and the youth women? Yeah. Before we get into the main one, just because it was worth a mention. So top three of the 16 to 17-year-old boys was Hampton Morris in the 67s. He went 115, 150. Preston Powell in the 81s was amazing. He went 129, 155. And then Morgan McCullough in the 96s, 140, 185. And then from the women's side, age 16 to 17, Catherine Estep, 55. She went 73, 93, which is pretty good. Mallory Garza, 59, went 72, 97. And then the most impressive, by like a long way, was Olivia Reeves. She's a 71. She snatched 102. She's like 16 or 17. She snatched 102, clean and jerked 126, which is just mad. She got by far and away the highest Sinclair from the youth women's side by like 40 plus points. So she killed it.
Yeah, I've heard someone was saying that like she is the kind of the dark horse people need to keep an eye out for.
I don't even know if I follow her. I probably should, so I can stay up to date on news.
So, and we'll actually touch on a few of those names here in the finals and nationals recap. So, do you think we should just hit nationals? I feel like there was a lot of interplay between the two. So we can kind of run through nationals from. You want to start with the men's or start with the women's?
I'm happy to start with the women's. I've got them pulled up.
All right.
Yeah. So Cicely Kyle from Power and Grace won the 45s. And
I mean, handedly too.
Yeah. Now I have a feeling that 95 clean and jerk was an American record.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And I think it was the only American record from the seniors for the whole competition, which is pretty damn good. other than her, I don't. It's probably nothing. I mean, she won by 43 kilos in the total, so there's no one else. Like the Roby points go from 679 down to 257, so it's probably not worth mentioning anyone else there. No offense to anyone else.
No offense, but I mean that's domination if you've ever seen it. And the funny thing is there is literally a what's that 19-year age gap between first and third. Cecily is 36 and Alyssa is 17. So a wide variety of ages and then performances. So moving on to 49, we see a lot of familiar names. Names we actually have seen for a long time, but people who have steadily climbed towards the top and maybe the new breed of American weightlifting. Yeah.
I mean, again, Perrin Grace win this session. Jordan De La Cruz, I feel like she's just the most professional. She's the one who I most expect to get close to her, 1RMs every time. Like, I think I put the most money on her always hitting 95%. She just does move so well. So 85, 107. Again, not her best, but to be fair, within a couple kilos.
What's her best clean and jerk? Like 108?
108 in the 49s. Yeah. So she's actually very close. She did 115 or 16 as a 55.
Jeez.
Yeah. Haley Reichard from Garage Strength coming in second. And then we'd like to see it, Madison Pinnell, friend of ours from Cal Strength, sneaking the bronze. What did she do? 79, 103. I think both of those are PRs. And the clean at 107 that she tried was right there. So that was damn impressive. And then Olympian Morgan King, 82.97. It's amazing that performance, 82.97, which is pretty decent for a 49, and even for Morgan King, it's not like it's a reasonable performance. That gets beaten by 3 lifters.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
And from first to fourth, it wasn't necessarily close.
No.
So it just shows how much of not only a benefit there was from Jordan dropping a weight class, but also her continual climb, just kind of slowly improving over the months, over the years. Yeah. Now, 55. I guess this is probably one of the classes we can just kind of jump through the totals really quickly, and then.
Yeah, I mean the winner. Actually, it looks like a great comp because it was 182, 183, 184. But yeah, it was won by Jessica Saxon from Philadelphia Strength. Barbell, yeah. 80, 104, so less than the weight class above, but pretty solid lifting. Weight class above that, 59s from Cal Strength.
Shout out.
Kelly Wild came in, snuck the dub, 87, 110.
On body weight.
Yeah, this is what I don't get. Well, I get it, but like the girl who took second, Shayla Moore, who's also Perrin Grace, why did Spencer open her at 112? Is it because with the way that it's set up online, you can't change your opener or something? I don't know what that was, because 112 equals Kelly. She does a second. And so assuming that Kelly doesn't make any more, then if she'd have just done 113, she'd have won. So that was a bit weird. But...
Well, it must have been for a team, because Shayla went 112, 116, 120, when if she knew kind of after Kelly missed her second or her third, they could have just
retaken.
Yeah, they could have just retaken.
Yeah, you're totally right there. And yeah, so Perrin Grace snuck another silver and a bronze there. They're in every session. Like
they are, and they're all on the podium, or they're like right there.
59.
So dropping down to 59. I mean, this was kind of a less eventful one. I mean, very close. Again, like you said, very competitive. I mean, first and second. Or sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one. Not competitive at all, actually.
No, Matty Sasser demolished.
Yeah, the 64 weight class. Maddie Sasser totaled 222 with 98, 124. And
I did not know that her name was Mathlin.
I didn't either.
Mathlin? That's crazy.
But
yeah, good lifting. Yeah, she has snatched over 100. I think her best clean jerk's 129. So she's I think she's about 5 off on both. But
do you know what body weight that's at? Is it just at 64 she hit those PRs?
It's 64. I think she did it at Pan Am's.
And she's still relatively young, too. still has a few years until
Oh
she
yeah,
probably.
she's 24. Oh, that's interesting being able to see those. That's cool.
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah, dropping down to the 71 weight class or going up a weight class. We have, the
Meredith.
the Meredith Allwine. Yeah.
And she's only 22.
Yeah.
Oh, she's gonna. And do you know what else? She's also just so very nice.
Yeah.
It's always nice when someone who is nice does well.
Mhm.
It makes you happier for them. It really does.
It's like when Bo Brown does really well. He's just a
Yeah,
nice guy.
Just so you know, Bo is in my corner backing me for my comeback to beat you. Just so you know. So he's on my side. In case you didn't know that.
Okay. Well, good luck, Bo, because, I'd like to see Seb train for 2 weeks without, stopping.
Well, I'm 4 days deep. Pretty good. But yeah, so do you know what else is kind of... Like, I'm not saying anything, but I can only imagine there's a certain amount of feels based on the fact that Matty left our boy Danny Camargo. And I'll be honest, I think she made the right decision because she's improved. But then she goes somewhere else.
Has she improved?
Yeah, she has improved. Yeah.
Even considering weight class and performance and...
I haven't worked out her Sinclair, but she's certainly hitting PRs and she's looked stronger. And then Meredith goes to that coach that Matty left, PRs everything, and then beats Matty in the weight class below. There's
That's
something.
savage.
There's a story. She did her dirty. That's for sure. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, and I just want to say, I asking if she's improved. That sounds crude,
No.
but I was just genuinely curious for people listening. Now, the crazy thing, and Catalyst Athletics, great, awesome. Danny, awesome. Talk to him a lot. Danny's a great guy. He's a guy you want to pull for. And I know a lot of people felt bad when Maddie Rogers left. I don't know if it was because she's just so good in the relationship they developed, but yeah, it is awesome seeing the team get this win.
Yeah. And then Alexandra Chance took silver. I only mention her because we literally just interviewed her. The thing is, though, Josh, she said, obviously she was disappointed with her performance, but there is no performance that was in her grasp that would have changed the outcome of her taking a silver.
Right.
Even if she'd have PR'd, she wouldn't have touched Meredith's clean and jerk. So
no. 106, 128. Yeah, wouldn't have even been close. So I think, and I didn't realize. No, LaChance, if she would have hit PRs, it'd been 106, 128.
Yeah.
I didn't realize she was 33. She looks like she's like 27. 26.
Oh, damn. Because she kept saying that she's old. I said to her, you got 2024. I didn't realize that we were looking at a Masters athlete by the time Paris runs around.
I didn't either. That's crazy.
Well, she'd probably smash all of the Masters records.
No doubt. She's like the female version of Jason Bonnet, just jacked and athletic.
She's jacked, yeah.
Strong.
Here's another thing before we move on to 76s.
Yeah.
Kristen Pope was a 71.
Yeah.
So
she moved up. Yeah, she weighed in at 67.9, but...
Yeah, and she was pregnant, to be fair.
Yeah.
Or was, so I guess she's just still got some extra weight, but she almost pulled a Tatum or a Rybakov. She went 80-86. Her openers were 80 and 85.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
so, she can only have assumed that if all went well, she'd have outstnatched her opening clean and jerk with an opener like 80-85. Crazy.
Yeah, so
and then a lot of bomb outs.
Congrats to Kristen. One for putting up a total, but also for doing so after I think 6 months post pregnancy.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
big congrats.
All right, 76s. So it went. Okay, I tell you what. I'll say Kate's numbers. You say Matty's numbers, and we'll build the suspense.
Okay.
So 103 opener for Kate.
Yeah, 104 for Maddie Rogers.
106 for Kate.
107 for Maddie. Then Maddie took 110, missed.
Kate and I comes out, pulls a straight 2019 gold medal winning 111 for the win over Matty, takes a 4 kilo lead into the clean and jerks.
And if you watch the video, so Kate and I posted the video, and it was like from a security camera up in the corner of the room looking down. But what an excellent lift. It looked great. She looked really sharp. Her PR is 112, so not far off from all-time best.
Was it 12 that she hit at Worlds or 13? Was it 12?
She's hit 112 in training. I think. I
Well,
think
at
that was an
Worlds,
all
I think she
things
hit
gym
13.
video. Did she? I don't know. I feel like that's.
No, she did. She did. 2019. Well, she won World. I'm almost 100% certain. Weightlifting. Let's see. I think she went 113, 136 at Worlds.
I don't know.
She went 112, 136.
Yes, the suspense.
All right. So she's 4 kilos up. Then what happens?
Okay, so Maddie Rogers opens with 126, and this stuff is all extra. Mm-hmm. This is all after the other people have kind of finished up, hitting their best.
Kate 128 opener.
Okay, Maddie goes up 2 kilos to 130 after Kate's 128.
Kate then just staying in the lead goes to 131.
And then Maddie takes
no.
Oh yeah. Go ahead.
And then Kate thinks to herself, okay, I don't think I've got much more than that, because I don't know if you saw the 131. It was tough. Like she wasn't in the best clean and jerk shape of her life. So she thinks, okay, if I hit 34, then I'm already 4 kilos up. So Mattie's going to need 5 on top of that. She's going to need 139, and she can't do that. So Kate takes 134, and she misses it, leaving 136 open.
And Maddie smokes 136.
Yeah, she did look good.
I mean, Maddie's clean and jerks, she's just really kind of come into her own, because I think at a recent competition in Florida, she hit 140. So didn't she go 110 to 140?
Yeah, I think she did.
So
she was a class above, but yeah.
So she's been, she weighed in at 76 on the dot. I mean, what a professional move by her. And came out 5 for 6, 243, won by 1 kilo. I mean, That's it. That's great performance.
So speaking of which, just on the bodyweight thing, just look at the 49s again, because I noticed this when we were going through. Do you think the person who was taking the weights just forgot what everyone weighed at and just wrote 49.00? Because out of the 18 competitors, 14 of them weigh 49.00. No, 16 of them.
This is a problem. Something's wrong here.
That's odd, isn't it?
And I don't think you can just say, "Hey, we lost the numbers. Let's fill it in." They have to be the right weight. I mean, I don't know.
It doesn't matter anymore because you can't win on bodyweight, though.
Yeah, but I mean, why don't they just do that for everyone then? Oh, you weighed in, so
yeah. I don't know.
I mean, if you look down, actually, the 55s, the top 4 weighed in at 55 on the dot, supposedly.
Yeah. Crazy.
And I actually, now that you say that, there's a lot of weigh-ins. Yeah.
Very sus. Yeah. I noticed it with the men's as well.
Anytime, yeah. And I think it's just the scales they're using at home are probably too crude to give like a better measurement. So that might be what's going on.
That might be it. Yeah. Okay, let's keep going. 81s, Jessie Stamo, Perrin Grace snags another gold. And I'm assuming you saw her 107.
Oh, it was filthy. It was nasty.
I've never seen someone with legs that long do such a save in such a deep way. And she's done it a bunch of times, but it's unbelievable.
Yeah, and Michael Horner thought that she touched her ass to the platform. I don't know if you can see that. I don't even know if we could see that.
I don't think so. It doesn't look like it to me. Like it's sort of close, I suppose. But I wouldn't say so. You need such an awkwardly low angle of a camera. You could just never work it out. And then she hit 139, which Jessie Stamo is strong. Also, to miss 35 and then take 39, do you reckon that was a Pan Am deal?
Yeah, I mean, it must have been. I think Power and Grace, just by looking at the numbers they were taking, they were all about the international team.
Yeah, they've got a lot of international lifters now. Crazy. But she smashed it.
Isn't it filthy that, one, shout out to Jessie and her interview on the Weightlifting House podcast. I mean, we've had a lot of these people on. So. Jessie Stamo.
Oh, right, yeah.
You son of a gun.
I don't know what else. My mind was just so, for some reason, detached from the conversation we've been having. That's so weird.
I think you're just focused on how they would viably see if asses touch the platform with their current camera operations. But not only did she have an interview on the Weightlifting House podcast, go check that out, but she also out-totaled her second place competitor by 32 kilos, which is disgusting. That's
offensive.
That's nasty.
That should be illegal. My God.
All right. So
also, do you know what's nice is when I go through these, realizing how many of these women we've had on the podcast.
Yeah, it's awesome.
We've had a lot.
It's really cool.
Okay, next weight class, 87s, Juliana Riotto from Catalyst Athletics. She won 106, 130. Great lifting. It's less than the weight class below, and it's less than the weight class below that. I mean, I don't even know why I'm saying this. This makes it seem like I'm hating. I'm really not. It's less than the 71s even. Mm-hmm. But you know what? It's still an amazing total. And also she's improved a lot because I remember seeing her lifting in the I think it was the UK, and she couldn't lift that much, so she's improving a lot. So shout out to her. And there's Perrin Grace again, sneaking a medal, always sneaking the medals.
Yeah.
And then I think the supers was really fun because obviously, Sarah won, world champion, Olympic medalist, 120, 152. But the interesting things are that A, she missed 55, and B, that Mary Tyson Lappin hit 158. 6 kilos over Sarah, and she did it after a week of COVID, a week of no training. And if she had only made her second attempt in the snatch or third, she would have won. But she still made the Pan Am team, by the way, so that's pretty good.
Big congrats to her.
That's awesome. Yeah,
I think the whole thing with Mary, the 110, 115, and she made all of her clean and jerks. I wonder if did they just think they had the win with 52, or when Sarah missed 55? Were they just going for Pan Ams? You think it wasn't necessarily about first placing?
Yeah, when she hit 52. Well, I guess they knew 58 would have taken her to Pan Ams, maybe. Yeah.
I mean, she
wasn't going to jump to. Yeah, she didn't need to 63.
Ooh, that'd have been nasty.
To win without the bodyweight rule. So. And that would have been a kilo over the American record, I think.
Yeah, and with the whole COVID situation, and that would have been unbelievable. But congrats to Mary, again, on the Weightlifting House podcast. If you want to listen to it, go check it out.
Check it out.
All right,
should we crack out these men?
Yeah, let's move on to the men.
Let's slide up to the men. All right, so there are no 55s.
Yeah.
61s, Carlos Millen. 20 years of age, 104, 135, 239. It's decent. It's not amazing, but it's decent. 344 Sinclair.
Give us some context for this, because I don't think a lot of people have kind of an anchor for what's a good 61 kilo performance.
What, in terms of like world records and that
generally,
sort of thing?
Because I see this and I think, okay, he won. That's a good performance. But
okay, so in terms of like the peak in the world right now, the world record snatch from Lee Fei Bin is 145.
Wow.
And the clean and jerk world record by Eko Yuli Irawan is 174. So they're sort of like 40 kilos off in both lifts.
Yeah.
Which is quite large, I'd say.
Yeah.
But still,
that's incredible. Yeah, but still, congrats.
Sick results, yeah. 67s, Jacob was the battle of the garage strength boys, really, wasn't it? And Ryan Grimsland, let's not leave him out, but it wasn't particularly close. Jacob Horst, a.k.a. Jake the Snake, took the dub. Again, everyone weighs 67.00 here. 23 years of age, 134, 157. He only went 3 for 6. And he's looked good. Like, he snatched 39 in training, which is an American record, unofficial. So he didn't quite hit that, but still, 34.57. And it's decent. I'd imagine that puts him on some sort of team. And he beat his teammate, Jordan Wissinger, who I think everyone thought, at least a year or two ago, was like, okay, well, Jordan Wissinger's going to be the 67 at Garage Gym. But
because he recently did 170, I think.
And he's got some legs on him.
Yeah, he's very strong. It's actually very surprising and crazy to see Jacob surpass Jordan, who has been so dominant, just a slow climb for Jacob Horst, but congrats.
And do you think that Jacob Horst is in the right class? Obviously, he can't be a national champion if he moves up a class because of CJ. But do you think he's underperforming because of? That dude, he looks like he's about 6 foot. I know
Yeah,
he's
and he's
not. He
shredded.
looks like
He's
a
very
Spencer
lean.
Arnold type of weightlifter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very lean. And the the 62s look very tough because his legs aren't overly strong. So I think
Mhm.
bumping the weight class, more body weight, stronger legs, you'd probably see a much bigger improvement than someone for Jordan who actually looks like a 67.
Yeah, he does. He
Yeah,
does. And he's got those nice ascend knees when he pulls. Jacob Horst
yeah,
does.
he
Yeah.
does. Yeah. Uh,
Ryan Grimsland underperformed in the snatch. He hit 25, made 150, jumped to 67, cleaned it to make the Pan Am team,
yep.
which would have been nasty.
Yeah.
And he missed. But I mean, I would be surprised if Ryan didn't beat both of those two within a year and then be untouchable from then on.
Yeah, I mean he's only 18, right? So the other guys have about 5 years on him.
Yeah. And then Hampton Morris, 16, 115, 150. 150.
Yeah.
Ugh, madness. All right, 73s. I love how only one person decided to compete against CJ in this. There are so many athletes in all the other weight classes, and then Willie Day decided to have a go at 35 years of age. He ain't scared of no young buck. And he took on CJ, who somehow is 20 years old. I still think of him as being 15.
Yeah.
But CJ did well.
Yeah.
Well, no, he went 2 for 6. But still, his 2 for 6 is 424 Sinclair, 148, 182. He took a tug on 200, Josh. What's that about?
Yeah, let's unpack this. So people looking at the results, they would see 182, 183. The 183 obviously was just to get some more time, get some more rest or something.
Yeah, I guess so.
And then I don't know what that's about. Maybe you can explain it to me. I'm kind of dumbfounded because 200. I don't know. I just maybe they had nothing to lose, so just put it on the bar to see what happens.
I think they have nothing to lose. It was a good opportunity for them to sort of shake hands with 200 for the first time. He'd already won. He'd already made all the teams he needed. He's obviously going to the Olympics, so he just but what's funny is the world record's 98, so they didn't take 99. They just said screw it, 200. Yeah. But the thing that I think is strange is that I didn't think his 82 looked good enough to go for 200.
Yeah,
I don't know if you've seen it.
I think I've seen it. Yeah, it didn't look like the shape he was in when he hit that 95.
Oh, he hit 95, didn't he? All right, you know what? Suddenly I'm thinking this 200 makes more sense. I forgot that he hit 95. Gosh, that is filthy. I mean, he hit 95 on the 3rd of October.
Yeah, he shook hands with 200, and I think we all realize that it has a strong grip, and a very strong grip.
Yeah, it pulls out of your hands pretty quick. So anyway, he ended up clocking it, but PR deadlift maybe.
that would be pretty interesting if his best deadlift was 200, clean and jerk 195.
Yeah,
and then so moving on to 81. Yeah,
Aaron Grace 1 and 2.
And I think the most surprising thing, it's either that Harrison just kind of phoned in the competition, or that Matt Rattay, his teammate, just made an incredible snatch.
45.
That 45 was nasty. It was filthy.
That was nasty. And then 75 in the clean and jerk for Matt, which is strong. I think the real disappointment was that we didn't get to see Chevy, Christian Rodriguez Ocasio do well. He snatched 43, missed 58, missed 51 behind as well, I think.
Yeah.
And then, did he miss or pass? I think he missed.
So I didn't see any videos posted. I'd have to watch the live stream.
No,
but
they didn't post any.
But you see an increase. I wonder if they thought about, because they went 76, 76, 81. So there had to have been some thought as to what was going to happen.
Well, let's work this out. If he'd have made 81, that would have put him in. It would have put him in second,
yeah.
But so would have smaller lifts as well. No, I don't know. But yeah, Harrison, 50, 85, 5 or 6, missed 190. Not sure what he missed with, but all right, 89s. Somehow, Travis Cooper Can I just say what's so funny? Firstly,
Yeah.
the fact that Travis Cooper just won again for like
Yeah.
the 10th time or something. But also, Travis Cooper, 32. I look at Travis and I think, you've been in the sport for so long.
Mhm.
Two things. One, it's crazy that he's actually only a few years older than us, but I feel like he's a generation or two above.
Yeah.
And two, he's younger than Alex LeChance.
Yeah.
How weird is that?
Blows my mind.
That blows my mind. That's paradigm shifting. Well, Travis won again. Misses his first two attempts, pulls out 45 for to take second, and then 83 in the clean and jerk. And to be fair, Jay Koski tied on total, and even won on Sinclair.
How did Travis win?
Because he hit the total first.
Okay, even if Jay takes the last lift.
Yeah, it's all about who hits it first. You can't equal totals anymore, which is what I find so weird. Is why did Jay take 87?
Yeah,
he knew that was going to equal Travis, and yet he took it. I just don't understand. Nate Stamo, 50-75. He'll be pleased with that snatch.
Snatch, yeah.
James Townsend presumably won the powers with 41-80. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, shout out to Travis again. Another episode on the Weightlifting House podcast if you want to check it out. I mean, just living atop of the podium the last, I don't know, decade plus.
Damn, just look at this 96 kilo category. Nathan we've had on.
Yep.
Have we had Phil on?
Yep.
Yeah, Phil we have. Rob we have. Morgan we have.
Yep.
It's crazy. Well, Nathan won, and he won pretty easily, to be honest. 61-205. I don't think Jason Bonnick's ever going to win again.
No.
He killed it.
I mean, really Jason would have to pull that 170 out on a competition platform, but even then, he's got to make 200.
Yeah, he does. But yeah, at 39 years of age.
Oh my gosh! And Phil at 38, picking up.
Phil at 38. So Jason 52.91, Phil 55 press out, but he got given it. But we all know it was a press out. 55.86. Rob Blackwell, I was pretty pumped to see him, age 30. Keeps himself to himself and pulls out, the 46, he always has. But to pull out an 81, when, that's really good for Rob. That's really good.
Now, Rob Blackwell is one of those guys where we talk about Alex LeChance and we talk about Travis Cooper and we're like, okay, I didn't realize they were so old. And then Rob, you're like, man, I feel like he's 40. I feel like Rob is for 20 years. And he kind of like stops training, starts training. He's powerlifting, he's bench pressing, and then he just comes out into a competition and snags a medal or places almost top 3, and it's super impressive.
He's got those residual old man numbers where he's always got 40-70 in him. Always, it doesn't matter what he does.
What a place to be in where literally 47 is just back pocket. It's just like I kind of feel like totaling.
I know that what he likes. But one second. What he likes is the fact that he can basically, if Chevy's having a bad day and he hasn't even been training and they're together at Cal Strength, he can just hit those numbers and beat Chevy. And I know that he likes that. He really likes that. And Chevy hates it. Yeah, Morgan did great.
Morgan, 5th place overall and 17 years old. For some reason, I feel like he's kind of like CJ in that I'll always think he's 16, even though he looks like he's 19, 20, 21.
Well, he's less than half the age of a couple of these guys. Less than half. He's half the age of 3 of them.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, and he actually just snatched 41 for a PR in his basement.
From the floor?
Yeah, from the floor. I think it was yesterday.
Oof. That's a big oof.
Yeah.
Big oof. 102s, Thomas Dewar, East Coast Gold, 55-75. It's a nice snatch. Very nice snatch. It's always going to be underperforming class, but still.
Yeah.
109s. Do we have anyone else in the 102s that we need to? I don't think so.
I don't think so. I mean, it was a competitive class, but again, it's one of those classes that people kind of clear out of.
Yeah, shout out to everyone who competed there. But 109s, I mean, it was no surprise at all that Wes won. But I think it was a surprise that he missed 203
Mm-hmm.
and that he opened at 95. I can only assume his wrist was injured.
Yeah.
You know, that's the only thing I can think is his wrist hurt. And so because why would they open at 95? It's not like they're thinking to themselves, oh, he's having a tough day in the clean.
Mm-hmm.
Wes doesn't have tough days in the clean.
No.
So I think it was a wrist thing, maybe.
You think it's kind of the same situation with, you know, we talked about with other lifters who have, like CJ, for example, who have so solidified their spot, not only in first place, but also for the Olympics, that, I mean, this meet really doesn't do anything besides like give them something to talk about, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I figure like maybe it was just that he hit the 70 and they thought, okay, Wes, let's grab another national championships title.
Yeah.
You've already outsnatched everyone by 20. And everyone else has already finished their clean and jerks 10 kilos ago. Hit the 95, get the gold, and then yeah. And then maybe he just didn't care after that. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
All right. And then the 109 plus. Yeah.
Which
were you surprised by anyone's performance in the 109 plus?
I was disappointed, I'd say, with Kaiser.
Mm-hmm.
But only because, like, yeah, he's such a great lifter. Again, we've had him on the podcast. I don't think you did that one.
No, I did not.
I think that was before your time.
Mm-hmm.
But 210, it's just
that was
like
BJ before Josh.
That was BJ and AJ. Oh god, help me. I think Kaiser, just 210. I feel like it's so below him.
Yeah,
I think he cleaned 225 the other day. Maybe
like power. 30. I mean, he's been hitting crazy like training lifts.
Yeah, he can power 210. I think, but he just never puts it there in the clean and jerk. Like, he's still in the shadow of who's our boy? Yeah, but also who's a guy with a wide grip who has a brother?
Oh, Kane Wilkes.
Well, yeah, Kane Wilkes. He's just in the shadow of Kane.
Where's Kane
Still
Wilkes
can't
at?
get that. Oh, he must have retired. I think he's playing Dungeons and Dragons somewhere. No offense, Kane. He's a great guy.
No, he's probably playing as we speak, and he's like, "Yep,
yeah."
And I mean, the thing that's tough about this for Kaiser is that I remember you talking about him and saying, "Hey, Shane Hammond has been the best American weightlifter, at least super heavy, since his time." Before his time, I mean, 237.5, 197.5, and everyone said, "Hey, is Kaiser the next guy?" Because he's done 90. What's his best clean and jerk? 215, 220.
Yeah, in trainer.
Yeah, so he's done like 90, 220, 250, 225, something like that. I mean, and it's not that he's getting worse, but he's got to put 12.5, 13, 14 kilos on his snatch, like 20. 25, 30 on his jerk.
In shape, I'd pick Wes to beat Kaiser.
Oh, yeah, I could see that.
Like, not in the snatch, but I would say in the clean and jerk, Wes will pull out what he needs.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't. No offense, not calling anyone out. I don't think Kaiser will beat any of those Shane Hammond records ever.
Yeah.
In competition. No.
Which just lends the credence to, I mean, what Shane was able to do in a short amount of time, transitioning from powerlifting to weightlifting. And I mean,
for sure.
Anything, kind of as we wrap up here, anything?
Alejandro Medina
Island. The
only reason I want to say it is because everyone thinks he's a 109, but the guy weighs 121.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a great lifter. I'm not denying that, but 158, 195, great lifts. But
and he holds his weight well. I mean, he does look like a 109. He doesn't look like a super.
Oh, shout out to Shane Sevick as well, who wore a dicks out singlet from the 70s, 137, 171 at 42 years of age. Let's go.
Yeah.
Oldest man there, showed off more skin than anyone else.
Well, and then you have right underneath, literally Jason Starks, 1 year younger. And I feel like Jason's in the same boat as Rob Blackwell. It's just like, hey, let's compete. All right, I'm retired. Hey, let's compete.
It's always there.
Right,
tired. He's got a 300 total in his back pocket when he needs it.
Just whenever he needs it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that kind of wraps up. Wow, we've been going for an hour, but that wraps up USA Weightlifting Nationals, American Open Finals. We talked a little bit pandemic. We talked a little bit what's in the forecast for international competitions.
We appreciate you listening to the Weightlifting House News Show.
There will be no accompanying video or anything of that sort. This is like the thrift store version of the Weightlifting House podcast. So you see those memes where it's like, "Mom, can I have this?" And they're like, "We have that at home." I mean,
or it's like, "Can I play with this?" And it's like, "Go play with the neighbor's kids." And it's like, "The neighbor's kids," and it's this podcast. It's like, "Mom, can I listen to the Weightlifting House podcast?" No, go listen to the neighbor's Weightlifting House podcast. The neighbor's Weightlifting House podcast. It's just the philosophical weightlifting podcast. I love how you got a British person to come on to talk about USA Nationals to a subsect of the Weightlifting House podcast on the philosophical weightlifting podcast.
It may not make sense, but
I kind of like it.
It fills the midweek void, and it gets the job done. And that's the tagline and the story of my life is, you know, I may not be perfect. I may not do it perfectly, but I do something.
That's the least motivational tagline I've ever heard.
Well, Seb, you know, you normally don't do this for me, which, you know, I somewhat appreciate, but where can people find you if they want to keep up with your shenanigans?
Jesus. Instagram, Seb Ostrowicz. Everyone knows. Everyone knows, I presume. I would love to see a crossover demographic of how many people listen to this who don't either listen to Weightlifting House or who don't know what Weightlifting House is. That would be very interesting.
I bet it couldn't be more than 1%.
Yeah, I don't know that your listenership is 1% less than a person. No, I'm joking. I know you've got more than 100 people. That was a joke.
I mean, we had like 300 downloads in the last episode.
Dude, that's really not bad. Can you imagine 300 people who choose to just listen to you when they could listen to the Weightlifting House podcast and they think, I need more of Joshua Gibson in my life.
I need more of this rambling buffoon. That just makes me complete.
Yeah, I want to do another hot takes. People like it when it's just me and you on a podcast. I put the Westside Barber one up yesterday, and I've already had messages saying that it was really good. Cool. So we need to just do more talking about weightlifting. Well,
and I've been deep diving into Westside, and I've been actually, I've been deep diving into it. I actually talked to a guy about implementing Westside for raw lifters in powerlifting, and we can we can cover that. But you know, follow Seb. Everyone listening, follow Seb. I hate it. I hate him. I don't want him to beat me, but follow Seb at Seb_Ostrowicz.
Without looking at anything right now, spell my last name. Don't look.
Ostrowicz. Ostrowicz.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Follow him at weightlifting_house, which you fail to mention that every single time. You'd say it's Weightlifting House. It's not. It's patented.
People will find it, I assume. Will they not?
And they will. I mean, if they have any semblance of a brain.
Right.
Which, you know, my listenership, you can't always bet on that.
No.
I mean, I probably shouldn't berate my listeners, but and you can follow me at Josh_PhilWL on Instagram. That's PhilWL. We appreciate your ears and your listening. We will catch you on another episode of the Philosophical Weightlifting Podcast.